Okay, cool. Oh, wait, I lost you. Let me come back to you and I'll share my screen. Oh, wait a minute. I'm gonna share, but I was gonna do the prayer at the end because it's the summer solstice. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. Well, so I'm partly doing this because I mean I wanted to do this. I was thinking I was been really excited about the animals and been paying attention, I mean since you've been doing it, since Kirsten was doing it, but also I've just gotten really excited about it. And so I really wanted to do this for the summer solstice class. Whoa. Um, So I think, I mean, I think it's really amazing when we receive a sign or confirmation from the universe. Um, to me, this work on one level is about the comfort that you receive when you get that divine guidance, or like when you get a feather, or when you see the bird that, or whatever, the birds, butterflies, whomever that remind you of a family member, or I don't know, just when you receive that animal sign, and then if you do a little research about it, you realize it's the answer to your prayers. I just think that's such a special way to communicate with spirit and your guidance. And I really think, I mean, it can happen through the tarot and astrology and numerology. I mean, there's other ways, angel numbers and all that, and coins. And I like all those too. But I think one of the most delightful ways is through the animals, because, I just love animals, and I think people love and are fascinated by animals, and there's so much to learn from animals. So one of the things it was about 15 years ago, I had a reading with well-known astrologer Caroline Casey. And she indicated that, I don't know what aspect this was, but that my chart showed that I had the gifts of an augur. So one who at that time, really, we talked about like looking at the birds. And I remember thinking, oh, that's great, because that's something that's always fascinated me, like trying to interpret what the bird signs were telling me. So and this is definitely something I've always been fascinated with and played with. But since the pandemic, when I spent a lot of time out on Mars Hill in the pandemic praying the medicine wheel, and I really started to, I think, spend more time observing the signs and seeing the animals when I was praying, like if a deer crossed my path or a raven, or, watching those signs, the hummingbirds. And then living down here in Sedona, because I'm in the trailer and I'm virtually outside, if it's warm enough, I'm outside. It's warm enough, if it's the right temperature. I'm not outside right now because it's pretty hot out there, but like I spend a lot of time outside now, so thankfully it's helped me really increase my awareness of the animals and their behaviors. Like this year, I noticed there's one little group of birds. There's these little pink and gray birds that had nests in the barn, and they were really noisy for several months, I guess, because they laid their eggs and they were waiting for them to hatch. And then after the little birds hatched, they kind of just disappeared. The little birds hatched and did their thing, and they disappeared. And I noticed it got a lot quieter in the morning. So there was this really loud, noisy, wonderful, beautiful chitter chatter of energy in the spring. And then a couple weeks ago, the little birds hatched and they were gone. So it's been interesting to watch that over the last few years, being outside so much. Anyway, so I before I start, as I was meditating on what this class was about over the last few days, I realized, well, why do we do this? Why is this important work? Why do I think this is so important for us and for our spiritual work? I think animals guide, whether they're animals, spirits in the form of cards, or in nature, or in dreams, whatever it is, they often give us help. They answer a prayer or help you with a situation. We get a lot of contact from our guidance, I think, from our spirit guides. I mean, it depends what we're attuned to, right? I mean, some of us receive messages, like we receive messages. If you're looking for the messages, they come in all different ways, right? Like I said, they can come in feathers or numbers or animals, but often our guides are attempting to speak with us. Sometimes we can stop in meditation and just hear them, and other times it takes like okay, I received the deer card for the new moon, and I never read it. Like, I got it and I had it on my desk for 2 weeks, and then this morning, after I prayed for this class, and I was just about home, and 6 deer ran in front of me, and I was like, oh, I better read what those deer are about. And I was like, oh yeah, it was, the message of gentleness and unconditional love, and like, really, for me, I think being gentle, like not trying to push so hard, but let it come together gently, and not be afraid. In the medicine card, steers about melting down that fear with love and gentleness. And so it's interesting that message has been trying to get through for 2 weeks, and I was kind of just like, no. I think also, and the animals, with the way they teach us, can help us bring forth the gifts, skills, and the medicine of that animal to empower you. Often we get a card or see an animal spirit that really speaks to us, like this deer, right? I really needed that gentleness to bring forth that gentleness in my own life, so I wasn't trying to control or overwork the situation or be in anxiety or something. If this gives us connection with spirit and with, I'm just going to say spirits, universal consciousness, however you want to think, right? When we connect with the animal spirits, we're connecting with this bigger field of consciousness, and we're part of that greater community of consciousness. Animal spirit work gives us confirmation and comfort, sometimes confirmation of our plans and thoughts, like, oh, should we do this or should we do that? Confirmation that we have spiritual help and guidance. They help us to learn to see, okay, so this is something I've been thinking about both with animal spirit work and in the third eye work, with the art in the third eye and neurographics, is I think our higher self is constantly trying to kind of talk to us, our higher self and our guidance. And one of the things when we look outward for signs, like the animals are often reflecting back to us what we need to see and what we need to hear. I mean, I know for a lot of my life, I just, when I'm in my head and there's kind of like a monkey mind where I'm not paying attention, and it's hard for those signs to get through. And so for me, it takes a lot of, stopping, stripping away that monkey mind, being in a more meditative state, being in a more intuitive state, being in a more creative state, so that I can actually even perceive those messages coming in, instead of being in such a rush or trying to control things with my, more intellectual space rather than a more receptive space. So I think a part of it is about seeing what we need to see at the right time, I guess. I think the moon work is about that too. And then knowing your symbols. In the mystery tradition, it was like one of the things we learned on the levels of the temple is like, know yourself, right, is the first one, know thyself. Know your symbols is the second one, is the symbolic level of the temple. And then the paradoxical, you do that, the more paradoxical mirror work and stuff. And then the creative, but knowing your symbols is part of the mystery work. And it helps, not obviously necessarily, but obvious to you, Andy. I'm saying obvious because, right, knowing you to do oracle work, you really need to know your symbols. And I mean, you having done oracle work and writing an oracle book, you really know your symbols very well and can, connect with them right? When you're in your intuitive state, it's not just intellectual, right? You're just connecting with them and bringing that out of yourself. So I put this book, this is one book that I got. I like this book because um he has a lot of questions in it. There's like meditations in this book and like questions to consider and like how to do dream work, how to do shape shifting with the animal, get in the poses. And I mean, it's got a dictionary of the animals. This is animal speak. Um, it's got a dictionary of the animal symbolism, but it also has all these different exercises, like how you identify your like heart chakra animal or your spirit guide animal. Oh, it's valuable reference for like learning about this work. Anyways, so one of the things I was going to kind of go into the more nitty gritty, and then I realized, well, there's a lot to go into, like analyzing the animal. So I'm just going to say for tonight, it's good. I know you have some, Angie, but gather some books, materials. I've been starting to pick them up when I see them. I'll show you some I got at the end. I got a new Oracle deck, which I'm going to read from. I got it at an estate sale this weekend, and it's amazing. I'm going to stop sharing for a second because I just want to show you. It's Animal Apothecary, and it's cool. Yeah, it's really. I don't know if it's showing you backwards or forwards, but it's actually, Scott got an amazing reading, and then I got an amazing reading. I'm like, I'm gonna have to draw from this deck tonight. So I'll go back to my slideshow. But anyway, as you probably do, Angie, it's like there's always more information, there's always more to learn. Different people. I guess I used to be under the false belief that there was like one way to interpret the animals. I had heard at the school that I went to that the medicine cards were like very accurate, as maybe as far as the Native American stories are concerned, but every culture has its interpretation of the animals. There's the Hindu versions and the Egyptian versions and the Greek versions, and I think it's important, having reflected on this, that to like really go for what you're attracted to and what speaks to you, because what you reference from your life, in this life, and what your past life is and what your culture is, that all feeds into how you bring that about through your intuition and through your oracle reading, right? Is like a lot to do with who you are as a soul. So it's important to buy. Like I say, I feel like I've had a big shift in thinking, oh, there's like one way to interpret the animals, but there really isn't. It's really about, right, the development of your soul, and the books and the cards and the animals that you draw into your life, the place you live, right? This is all about your soul growth and development. It's very individual, right? And so you're apt to give a slightly different oracle reading than I'm going to give, because we both have our different life paths, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have truth and spirit in all of those. So for me, I receive animal sign. I use the cards. I've definitely been doing a lot of observation in nature when I work outside in the morning, and in the evening right now because it's summer, and in the spring I'm outside like all day if I can be. And I keep my eyes on when, is it a hawk, or is it a hummingbird, or down here we've got the blue herons, and or whether a coyote, or really I keep my eyes out for the animals in nature. But we also sometimes get the animals signs from dreams. I did a ritual a few years ago where I was attending a class on the 7th, 8th, and 9th chakras. And one of our homework assignments was to do a candle ritual of connecting with our silver chakra, the 8th chakra, and asking what our animal spirit guide was in a dream, to receive a dream about it. And so I did it. I set up the ritual and I prayed. And I dreamed that night that it was a silver wolf that came to me in my dream. And so, yeah, so I thought that was really amazing. And, one of the, in this book, one of the wolf things is related to the moon. So, Wolf is a teacher and Wolf is also connected to the moon cycles. So I got the chills telling you. Yeah, so I think that's such a cool way to do it is with dream work, to work with the animals in your dream work. And, I use the books and the cards and the resources to research the animals I see in nature. Sometimes it's not in one animal, like toad, for example. I have a toad in the slide deck today that, frog is in a lot of the decks, but not toad. And I think, you got to kind of find out or figure out for yourself what's the toad meaning. I keep a journal. I write in my journal the animals that I see, and not everything, because there's a lot. I mean, I see butterflies and hummingbirds, but usually I keep note of, like, if I'm sitting out there in a more meditative place, I take a note of how many hummingbirds I've seen, and maybe if I see 2 butterflies playing together or whatever, or how many deer. I do keep track of that, to record my observations and record what the message is. And then, yeah, and then I research the meaning. And then again, that intuition piece is really important. I found that I really need to stop and just like get present with myself and do that listening for what the animal message is. Kind of follow the energy of it. I don't, oh, good. This butterfly is here. Like a few weeks ago, for example, a butterfly, I was kind of in a meditative state or a channeling state, and this butterfly came, and I was like, oh, I'm going to look up this butterfly. And, I read it, and then in the medicine cards, and then I decided they recommended to do a butterfly reading, which had to do was like a little like the medicine wheel. You put a card in the east and the south and the west and the north. And it was an incredibly powerful reading, so sometimes, that one little symbol takes you on this journey of like what you need to know for the moment, which, that was I was like, oh, I'm going to read the butterfly. And then I was doing this big reading, and it was very timely about my business, what I was doing. It had dog in it about giving service, and it had blue heron, which I love, about that self-reflection and, that journey going into the water. And had badger, which was about being really diligent to work towards my goal. And then the last one in the spirit was horse. So it was like, that was so exciting. So I was like, oh, this is a wonderful reading for what I'm doing. Gives me confirmation that I'm on the right track with my business and what I'm doing. And so that, I think that information is really valuable because, we really have to use our intuition to connect with, to hear our guides or to see our guides or to, right? It takes development in these upper chakras in order to really develop that spiritual dialogue with our guides and with guidance, so that we can feel comforted knowing that we're in the right place at the right time, we're going in the right direction, we're loved and cared for. I think that's really important part of this work. So here's a few things to observe. If you see, this is more from animals from nature, but even if you're reading the cards, this is about channeling it, about learning about it. So the reason I put the butterfly on this one is because it had such great colors. It was yellow and black and blue, and there's orange in there. So, so the colors of the animal are significant. And again, I was thinking of like saying this color means this and this color means that, but colors again are very cultural. And, I think of the colors related to the chakras. There's colors are very cultural in their meanings. I think it's important to kind of go with the meanings that you know what I mean? Think about what colors mean to you. What does orange mean to you, or what does yellow mean to you? Color in the medicine wheel too is often related to, the region that, like what mountains, or if there's water on one side or whatever. So the wheels are colored by the environment and the terrain. The numbers of the animal. So like with my deer, there were 6. the direction that they come from and are going to. Like when I was praying about this class this morning, I had a hummingbird come from the council lodge and go to the south, which I thought was interesting because I was actually in the prayer in the council lodge, which is where you say yes to God. And this hummingbird like zipped from the northwest right in front of me and going south. So I thought, oh, this, okay, good. This is about being joyful and you know, bringing this joy and enthusiasm and this message from spirit. So the elements, you know, as you know from doing these readings, the elements are important, or whether they're, you know, liminal, you know, liminal beings in terms of night or day, the season, the time of day, you know, whether they're like frog, which are, you know, water and earth, sounds that they make. I mean, one clear example of this for me is like when I hear the hawk crying now, because often there'll be the hawk. There's a hawk a couple hawks that live up in the rocks near our house here, and I'll hear them occasionally, like, you know, screeching. I'm like, okay, now I'm like, when I hear it, I'm like, stop again, and I listen. I'm like, okay, well, there's a message trying to get through to me. I need to stop, but I haven't always done that. I've had to train myself to do that. Behaviors, you know, the behaviors of the animal, you know, do they hibernate? You know, are they, you know, more, are they, you know, playful like coyotes? Are they around during the day? Are they around at night? Those are important characteristics of the animals. Their environment, their favorite foods or the foods they eat, their breeding patterns. Apparently breeding, when they breed, or that's like when they're fertile, the time of the year that they're most fertile. So that tells you something about the power time of that animal. Their home, you know, are they a bird? Or do they nest? Do they nest in the ground? Do they nest in the, you know, where their home is? And then their adaptive patterns. So like, again, coyote is one that they can be in packs, they can work with a couple coyotes, they can be alone. Coyotes are incredibly adaptive like humans. All right. So in this one, so I just wanted to show, you know, in the medicine wheel, you know, there are elements associated with the directions. So in this one, you know, I might put, you know, that something I've just recognized it might be telling me something about the medicine wheel. Like maybe frog, for example, might be talking to me about having a cleansing of my emotions or something. Or when I got the horse card, it was in the spirit house. You know, it was really about developing maybe my personal power for serving people. So that's just one way to look at the medicine wheel through the elements again and the directions. And then in terms of the chakras, again, this I think comes from the Lakota tradition. The first chakra is related to the nervous system and also like reptiles. So snakes and lizards and other reptiles are related to the first chakra. Kundalini type animals, I think, you know, like, because there's that movement, right? Am I getting the Kundalini right? That's a movement, that serpentine movement up through the chakras. And then the second chakra is water. Again, and this is in one tradition. The first chakra is fire in this Native American tradition. Second chakra is water, and so that would be all water animals like fish and, you know, maybe, you know, frogs, amphibians, you know, animals that may be both land and water, but predominantly water. The third chakra is air, and so that was really ruled by birds or affiliated with birds, and how they talk and their air creatures talk and move. And the fourth chakra is related to four-legged animals. And so often when we think of our animal spirit, our personal animal spirit totem, it's our heart chakra animal that we're talking about. Some people may have a bird, you know, we all probably have a first chakra animal, second, third, and fourth. And then the fifth chakra is humans is the animal connected to the fifth chakra. And then the sixth chakra is kachinas and spirits, and spirit beings, maybe animal spirits, in the spiritual form, maybe even like dragons or other beings that live outside of time, in the spirit realm. And then I don't know if there is one for the crown chakra or if it's God. So I'm sorry, I don't recall that. I don't remember. I think kachinas is that, kachinas and spirits is like the last level of that communication. And then, so, I mean, this is kind of like maybe how I think about how to develop your skills. I mean, I do think observation. I saw this toad yesterday. He was like in the sun, and I was like, "Aren't you too hot to be out here?" It was like 100 degrees, and he was out sitting in the sun. And yeah, he's a little toad. I'm like, okay. So, and Buddy, he was gone, so he must have gone and hid in some mud, and he must have enjoyed being in the sun for a little while. So observation, that's a really, I think, important, valuable way to learn is from observation. Again, intuition. I would say, well, there's kind of a couple components, I guess. Intuition, use as much intuition as intellect, in balance, to have that intuitive piece, so that you're really receiving what the animal is communicating to you. Like learning and research, I do often read, I've read deer multiple times, I've read hummingbird multiple times, and there's certain animals that come to me a lot. I've read hawk multiple times. But it's interesting, you read it again and you like see something that you didn't see before. So it's interesting what comes to you when you're looking up an animal sign. And then this is one that my guides really kind of emphasized, the communication, the connection, the conversation. Like I pay attention, when I'm sitting in the garden in the morning, I'm paying attention to what animals are coming and going. I try to listen to them or be tuned in to what the message is, but I also thank them and talk to them, and be part, we're part of that greater, I don't know, spiritual dialogue, right? We're part of that. So, right, we're kind of, I think my feeling is that by connecting with animal spirits, and our guides and stuff, we're part of this greater conversation of consciousness. And, we get to be, if we're aware of it and tune into it, we get to be part of that. And so I think that's a wonderful, feeling of that community of all beings. Oh yeah, see here, I emphasize that there's a big conversation going on, you go outside and you hear all this stuff. It's like, I personally want to be a part of that. I like just, I try not to do it in public, but I do go out. If I'm alone out there, I go talk to the animals. And sometimes I do it in public too, and then I realize I'm look like a crazy person. But and then I put this one on. I'm glad you're here because I love this one. This is one of my favorite wheels with the zebra. And sometimes through the moon work, we often are working on bringing forth equality or having the protection of the animal or the medicine of the animal for that moon cycle. And sometimes we need it in our lives, so we'll wear, like I'm wearing my butterfly dress today. We'll wear our totems or make, make something. So, I think this is an important part of the work too, is like, how do we embody, how do we go about embodying the medicine of the animal spirit? So, because like I say, sometimes it protects us, sometimes it empowers us. So, I mean, I practice this. Kirsten had told me this the other day, if you get an animal in meditation, attempt to channel it and feel it in your body. So because I had gotten those 6 deer, I was like, oh, I'm going to act out being a deer. I kind of pretended like I was in beginning acting, and I was like, how does a deer move, and how does a deer, deer are so light, and they they turn their heads, but they're so quiet, and, really feel it and embody it. That's one way to really bring that energy in you. As you know, I put animals in my new moon wheels to grow and develop this energy. I think art, anyway, any kind of art that we do, either visual or dancing, or it can be singing, any kind of art, creative form can bring forth, like when you see the deer dance, or right, like you see, I don't know. I was in Belize with my mom for her 60th birthday, and they did this deer dance, which was so fantastic. And you see wonderful ways of dancing these energies. And then you can also, choose, I guess this is in addition to it, like you can choose it deliberately. So I have a wheel. I couldn't find a picture of it, but I have a wheel where I felt like physically I needed strength and stamina. So I put elk in there. In the intellectual, or I think I put it in air, I put the hummingbird, and in the west, I put the frog, and in the north, I don't remember, I think I had a grouse or some other kind of bird. I don't, and because grouse was the circular dance of, like the Sufi dance, the circular dance of creation. So those were ones where I felt like I deliberately needed certain animal totems for health and balance. And sometimes we draw them by chance, in a card deck. We're just like, okay, or by omen, right? When we're out and the hawk starts calling to us, it's like, oh, I need to pay attention, right? And that's our spirit guides, or whoever, the animals, our higher self, right? There's all this interconnection of our consciousness with our guidance, and so I feel like it could be, this information is probably coming in constantly, and I'm only tuning into it a fraction of the time. But I like it when I have those days when I feel much more connected to it. And so this was the final. So the final thing is this is the card I drew for this class tonight. I prayed for, what message was for whomever was coming tonight. And for the summer solstice and for the summer. So I do like these cards. They're by an artist in New York City. So I'll read you this and then I'll pray. The falcon message. Okay. I like falcon anyways. This bird kind of reminds me of the bird associated with Isis. I think that's a kite, or it's a slightly different bird, but it's related to the falcon. Okay, falcon is victory. Falcon heralds victory on the horizon. She dares to accept all challenges. Now you must focus like a falcon on the end goal and discipline yourself to actualize your inner vision. There's no time for mindless activities. Focus like a laser on what needs to be done and do it. Something special is wanting to be developed, but it requires your steadfast commitment. What you most desire may take months or years, but do not rush for completion. Timing will play in your favor if you endure the long journey. Falcon's medicine shares that the key to your inner victory is discipline. Do not lean on motivation to carry you through, because on your journey, motivation will often vanquish for a time, and you must discipline yourself to push through no matter what. What you desire is attainable, and what you long to do in this life is yours, but you must work for it. Falcon's medicine suggests you create a commitment of just 20 minutes a day working towards your goal. Now more than ever is the time you must take steadfast action and have unwavering faith you will succeed. Do not give up. Keep going. Something beyond your wildest dreams awaits you to capture it. Falcon medicine is an honor to have chosen in your spread today. It brings the medicine of victory, but remember, it comes to you through your discipline. So I thought that was interesting. I was like, oh, these are fun, fun new cards. Okay. So I'm going to stop sharing, and then I was going to pray. Do you want to chat or do you want to give me, you want to say, you want to, do you have anything you want me to pray for
Well, I
or,
just think it's really, can you hear me?
yeah, yeah.
I just think it's really interesting that you pulled Falcon because one of the feathers on my back is Falcon. And
Oh,
after my father died, it was just Father's Day
uh-huh.
yesterday.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Thinking about my father a lot. And after my dad died, we had the wake in the backyard of the house where I grew up in, and there was a fountain in the backyard that he hated that fountain because it would always, you had to clean it every day and it was just a pain for him. But mom loved the water element and
Oh yeah.
listening to the fountain and everything. So he built it and well, after he died, 5 days after he died, a falcon came to the
Wow.
to drink from the fountain.
Yeah.
And for 5 more days, it came back every day.
Oh my gosh.
And
Wow.
so I just sort of knew it was dad, you
Yeah.
know, and that was why and he also, his drilling company was called Falcon Drilling.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
So he really had Falcon medicine. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So by, just seeing that card today, it was like I've been thinking about him a lot because it was Father's Day and just missing him. Um and I've done a lot of research on falcons too. And it was so
Yeah.
much my dad as far as being steadfast and really having a lot of discipline through his work. Um and in creating, a life for all of us that he felt good about. And so yes, thank
Wow.
you.
Oh, so wonderful. I
It's
love it. I'm glad
beautiful.
you're here because
Yeah.
when I first got it, I'm like, okay, I just gotta trust it. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get a message from it that's important for me, but I was like, interesting. I don't know if this is gonna resonate. So I'm just
Yeah.
so
And
happy that,
another thing too, on my mom's favorite color was yellow.
oh,
And um and on my trip last summer, I was by myself and there were times I kind of got lonely, but every single day on the trip from Flagstaff all the way back home for 3 weeks, I saw a swallowtail
oh my gosh. Day.
every single
Wow.
day. And I knew it was mom. She was traveling with me, making sure that I was okay. She was worried
Wow.
about me. She never wanted me to travel by myself.
Yeah.
So she was with me. And you're wearing
Wow.
your butterfly dress and you showed the butterfly. And she's like, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
I'm
Wow.
really
So much
feeling mom
fun.
and dad right now. I'm gonna
Oh, let's go.
cry,
Oh, I'm so happy because I mean, I'm gonna cry, but I think, right, I mean, I already know you know this because we've had these experiences, but to have this connection and closeness to spirit, to like, even though they're gone, like to know that they're there, it's so special.
Yeah, yeah. And Coyote also came to me in a dream after mom died.
Oh,
And
wow.
and I saw a coyote the day after she died, after they came to get her body from my house. I went over Gemini up towards Buffalo Park and to watch the sunrise, and a coyote crossed the street in front of me with a big rabbit in its mouth
Oh,
and just
wow.
stopped in the middle of the street and turned its head and looked at me and then just trotted off.
Wow.
So, I mean, yeah, I'm a firm believer in those messages and in the power of communicating and acceptance of the validation that we hold within. I think there's a deep intuitive design and knowing when we do see an animal, if we just stop and listen, why they came to us, why they were there.
Yeah.
It usually does validate something in your life, it just
Yeah.
does. And
Yeah.
usually you're spot on too, and I love that.
Validation. That's a good word. I didn't use that, but I like that. It does. Yeah. Yeah. That's important.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. That was wonderful. I loved it. And I'm going to
Oh,
get
good.
my moon wheel back out and pull some cards. And So when you did your moon wheel with your animal cards, like you did butterfly and then you got badger, or then you got, did you pull cards after that, after the butterfly, or did you just kind of think of them, or how'd they come to you?
That one I pulled because I was reading the medicine card. Do you have you have the medicine cards as one of your card decks?
Huh?
The one with like these ones. Do you have this
Oh,
one?
no, I don't have that
Oh,
one.
okay. Okay, it was in here and I can show you a picture of, I can send you a picture of the spread. So I read about the butterfly because it had come to me and then I was I was reading it and I was just like, I think it even said do a butterfly spread or something because of the transformation. And then I pulled cards for that because I was like, okay, I'll just keep, it just was like I was being guided to like, okay, read this, okay, do this. And so I pulled the cards and that's when I got those 4 cards for that
Okay.
transformative spread. But I can say, I mean, it was like, well, I'll just send you, I'll take a picture and send it to you, then you can see it for
Okay,
yourself.
thanks.
Yeah, 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 because then you can apply it to whatever card deck you have, card decks you have.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
kind of like a medicine wheel, like with the east, south, west, north.
uh-huh, uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I'm glad you asked that. And then, is there, I mean, I have some ideas based on our conversation, but is there anything in particular you'd like me to pray for? Or,
No, just open to anything that you feel.
okay, okay. I'm so grateful. I do feel like, spirit is so close today. So I'm really grateful. I feel like that was kind of the purpose, was for us to feel close to spirit today. So, and our parents and ancestors. So
Absolutely.
that's really special. And if you're good with it, I'll do a 3-round prayer for the summer solstice. Okay. Grandmother Earth, Grandfather Sky, power of the 4 directions, all of our ancestors, we send a voice. Thank you, ancestors, guides, spirit, animal spirits, for coming through today and really speaking to our hearts and really speaking to our intuition. We feel you and we are so grateful. We are at peace with this work and we are so grateful for your messages and for this intuitive work and this mystery work. Help us to continue to fight, to be in innocence and fight for our spirits and for our happiness and our innocence. Grandmother, grandfather, we've come together this evening to learn more about animal spirits and how to work with them. It's close to the summer solstice in a couple days. The moon is waxing, and we really feel the message has come through today of connecting us with the spirits in our life, our ancestors, our parents and grandparents, but also our guidance and with God. And we're so grateful. Thank you, God and guides, for coming to us in the form of signs and omens and animal spirits. We will love to hunt and gather more knowledge and more work and more intuition in this area. We will hunt and gather, more joy and more delight in working with our animal spirit omens. We take a vow, God, Great Spirit, to continue this dialogue, both our listening and our speaking and our intuitive work with the spirit realm, because it is important for us to keep this sacred connection open. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for really being present with us today. Your presence is so close. I feel the tingling on my skin right now of the closeness of spirit. We are grateful. We are at peace with this work. We are at peace with this mystery work. We are at peace with this spiritual work. We are at peace with these omens and these signs and the animals that come to us. Help us to continue to fight, to be warriors of the light, and Angie and I to bring the light of spirit for ourselves and for the people around us, to keep that connection and that doorway open so that spirit continues to come through and penetrate the darkness, both for ourselves and for our family and for the world. Grandmother, grandfather, this work is sacred work of working with animal spirits, of learning all about these wonderful creatures, the diversity and the beauty and everything that animals have to teach us, but also as a reflection of the vast beauty on our earth and in the universe, and how it's being reflected back to us, and how we as souls are part of this dance, and how we are being reflected back these messages that we need to hear. Thank you, God, Great Spirit. Thank you for speaking to us through our intuitions. Thank you for communicating to us through these signs. Thank you for bringing us together this evening. Help us to hunt and gather more of this spiritual work. Help us hunt and gather more of this connection with spirit. Help us hunt and gather more of our intuitive development. Help us hunt and gather more of this sacred work, mystery work. We take a vow, God, Great Spirit, to follow our personal mysteries, to keep connection with you, God, Great Spirit, as we serve others in our lives and we serve the community. Grandmother, grandfather, thank you for coming to us today. Thank you for this summer solstice blessing. We are so grateful for your presence. We are at peace with the mystery of spirit, and we are at peace with the messages that are coming through, and we are at peace with this task of continuing to stay connected with spirit and to listen and to communicate. We are willing to fight, to be warriors of the light, and to keep going that sense of innocence and playfulness and beauty of this animal spirit work. Grandmother, grandfather, we are warriors of the light. We are light workers and spiritual beings. We ask you for your help, God, Great Spirit, to continue to develop these gifts, to continue to develop our intuitive and psychic gifts, to continue to develop our knowledge and our awareness, to continue to develop our skills as oracles. Please help us to continue these gifts and to share them with others when appropriate, so that we may serve in this way, God, Great Spirit. Thank you. We say yes to you, God. We say yes to you and the sacred work. Help us to hunt and gather the joy in this work. Help us hunt and gather the beauty in this work. Help us hunt and gather the mystery in this work. Help us hunt and gather the vastness of the dream time in this work. Help us hunt and gather the light in this work. We take a vow, God, Great Spirit, to continue to give service through this beautiful animal spirit and oracular work for the sake of the children and the children's children, until the sun no longer sets and the moon no longer rises. Aho!
Well, thank you.
Thank
That was
you.
beautiful.
Thank you.
It's so good to see you, and I'm so glad everything's going so well for you. And
Yeah, thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, I hope things going well for you. I mean, you're going on a trip.
yeah, it's
Oh,
just
good.
been really intense times, you know, it always
Yeah.
is for me. And I think when you come from a place of deep sensitivity, that's the way your life is. And you know that too, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And I think we both signed up for a lot, whatever it is, like work, healing, transformation. It's like, I'm like, am I just, I'm wearing these butterflies, but it's like, am I just constantly, it feels like I transformed in the pandemic and then I transformed the next year. And then I mean,
yeah,
it's great. I'm happy, but it's like a lot, like to constantly be transforming and being like going through the challenges and the pains and the traumas of that, or seeing other people's pain and anger, and be constantly like, okay, we're going to, I mean, I guess that's why I teach them moon work, because it's,
yeah,
every moon cycle is kind of like a mini transformation and
right.
here and
Right. Well, and I think that having gone through, you know, metamorphosis as you have, it's you understand it, and it's attracted to you because you know it so well now.
yeah.
And you
Mm.
know, we're all magnetic
That's
beings.
nice. Yeah, I think I would add that for the future. We are magnetic beings, right? And this animal spirit work is really about that power
Yeah,
of magnetism, right? And how things are in our field. Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I like
All
that.
right. Well, I hope you have a beautiful rest of your week, and let's try and have some hot tea or coffee or something soon, okay?
Yeah, I would love that. Okay, cool. Yeah, and it's wonderful to see you. I'm so glad you
You
were able to come
too.
tonight. Yeah.
You so
Okay.
much. It was great. It was
Thank
really
you. Yeah.
okay.
You have a
Love you.
wonderful week. Okay, bye.
Okay,
I
bye-bye.
love you too. Sorry, I love you too,
That's
Angie.
okay.
Okay. Bye.